All right, Barb Hubbard is a time management coach and ADHD specialist. She loves supporting ambitious individuals who have big goals. She sees the strengths and endless possibility in others and lovingly guides them to discover it in themselves. With compassion and understanding, she helps her clients move forward with their vision by breaking it into organized and manageable steps and guiding them to the finish line. Barb expertly helps big dreamers discover clarity, find their focus, and feel motivated to work on the big, scary projects on their to-do list. That said, I'd love to introduce you to Barb Hubbard.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We're going to be talking all about time management today and just giving you some ideas of strategies that you probably are already really good at and may not even know it, that you were good at as a teacher and you can pull into your entrepreneurial journey. So I want to share a little bit more about me and my journey, and then I'm going to jump into, what you can pull from your teaching career into your entrepreneurial journey. I was an elementary special educator for about 20 years. And what I did was most of the time was resource rooms. I moved around a lot. So I've done regular elementary ed, 4th and 5th grade. I've done here in California, they call it special day class. So like the more, needier kids. But most of the positions I held were in the resource room. And I helped kids who needed that little bit of extra support. I also did a lot of testing, a lot of work with parents, identifying special needs. And one of the things that I kind of took from that experience is that if you need support, you need support. You don't need to have a label in order to get support, right? So that, I work with any women now who have or suspect they have ADHD. I worked with any of the kids then who suspected that they were needing support, right? So take that, and after 20 years, I decided, you know what, I'm going to be a coach, and I'm going to sit down and go through coach training. I did all that, and I got to this day. I remember it very clearly. Where I'm sitting down at my desk. My own kids were at school. It was August, and it was the first year in my life that I did not go back to school, right? I was like in my 40s, right? Sitting down, all right, here we go. Entrepreneur, I'm coaching. What do I do? It was like, all right, I have no idea what to do. No idea what to do. So my first instinct was to create time blocks. And so I took out one of those little whiteboards that we used to use for math. They'd like answer the question, you fold it up with their answer. So they're like, this big. And I very neatly drew lines and 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, all the way through the day and each day of the week. And it took a good hour making this. Filled it all in, right? This hour is what I'm going to do. This hour, I'm going to do this other thing, right? And abandoned that by the next week. I think I abandoned it because it was so rigid. And I think I abandoned it because it was too much of a reminder of what my teaching life was like, right? So that's one thing I did. Another thing I did was I found a free video, because, when you're new in your entrepreneurial journey, you don't want to spend a lot of money. So I found a free video on creating a business plan. And that was my next answer, right? I'm going to create a business plan. And I think I abandoned that within, I don't know, like half an hour, because it was so detailed. And it wasn't that I didn't know the answers. It was that I did not want to go back to this idea of filling out step by step. It was like writing an IEP, which I had had enough of. So abandoned that. I spent the first few months both excited that I got to do whatever I wanted and I was my own boss, and wanting support from people, right? Like I wanted a business coach, couldn't afford a business coach. I wanted a team around me, but who is that, right? And are they going to be like grade level teams? Because sometimes they weren't so supportive, right? So that was how I started. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs start in the same way. And the truth is that as teachers, we have a lot of skills that we're really good at. We have a lot of things that we can pull from our teaching career and use to support our time management efforts, to support our efforts in reaching our goals, right? Not just goal setting, but actually taking the steps to reach our goal. So I'm going to share 3 of those ideas today. And then we'll have a chance to kind of go back and forth and I can answer questions as well. So the first one is bell schedules. Bell schedules, right? For those of you who introduced yourself, you probably were in a position at one point where you were following a bell schedule, right? Think about what you liked about bell schedules, what you didn't like about bell schedules, right? I sometimes like the fact that the kids got up and left after 42.5 minutes, right? Like, go, I will see you tomorrow, or I will see you later today, right? But sometimes we were just in the like aha moment, right? We were right there and they had to get up and leave. And so sometimes I wanted more time, sometimes I wanted less time. As an entrepreneur, you get to create your own bell schedule. The reality is that as a teacher, you probably do pretty well with that structure, with that schedule. But you can take the pieces of it that work for you and ditch the pieces that don't. So for example, if you have set aside this block of time for yourself and you are still like, oh, I'm in it, I really want to keep going with this, right? You can choose to ignore that bell that is kind of like in the back of your mind, right? And keep going with it, right? You are also an expert at packing things up when your time is over, setting them aside, and picking them up the next day or the next week or whenever you want. You are an expert at that. You have done it thousands of times. Even if you were only a teacher for a few years, you are really good at like, oh, our time is up. All right, I'll mark down where I left off. I'll put this over here and I'll jump into something else. You're really, really good at that. Don't discredit that. You may not want to set it aside every time, but you're really good at it. You can choose like, okay, this task needs 30 minutes. I'm going to create a 30-minute block, but this other task needs 90 minutes. I'm going to create a 90-minute block. And that's where I think I went wrong that first week that I was sitting down as a new entrepreneur. I wanted everything to start on the hour and end on the hour. I don't know why, but probably because that's what a bell schedule is like, right? For most of my teaching career, everything was 42.5 minutes. And I am not joking. How they came up with half a minute, I don't understand, but it, for whatever reason, it fit with all the rules that they had to follow, right? I thought, oh, well, an hour is better. So I was trying to force everything into this. And what I realized is I really do well with time blocks and I need that schedule, but I can create it how I want. Mondays look vastly different than Wednesdays, for example, right? So use your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, your familiarity with bell schedules and create one for yourself. Even if right now some of those hours are blank, right? As a new entrepreneur, you might have some blank spaces right now, and that's okay. You'll figure out what to put in there, right? The other thing that I meant to say that I didn't is you can change it, right? Like I was stuck with 42.5 minutes for like 8 years, right? That's what I had. But as an entrepreneur, you can change it. So if it doesn't work this week, you get to adjust it for next week, right? You don't even have to wait till the school year is over, right? You can change it. So use your bell schedule the template to your advantage. All right, number 2, grade level teams. Grade level teams. We've all been a part of teams. We've all had to teach with other teachers, right? We had to work together in some capacity. And it doesn't matter if you were a music teacher or a 4th grade teacher or a middle school teacher or a college teacher, right? We've all had to do that. Have you ever been on a grade level team where it was just venting? People came together for your grade level meeting and everybody was like, well, little Johnny did this and this happened over here and I don't know what to do with this and why are they, right? Like all the venting, right? Probably all been there. You ever been on a grade level team where there was that one person that never pulled their weight? Right? You're trying to work together and they're like, oh yeah, I got that. And the next week you come back and they don't got that. Like they're never doing their part. Okay? That is why I didn't like grade level teams. And that's probably why I didn't want to work with anybody when I first became an entrepreneur. Like I am going to do this on my own because I don't trust other people and I don't want their negativity. But the truth is that as a teacher, like we need community. We need our grade level team. And you get to create it for yourself. You get to create it for yourself. You don't have to have that person that never pulls their weight. But you can have the people who will mentor you, the people who you can mentor, right? Like I'm sure you've had grade level team experiences too, where you got to be the mentor and how rewarding that is, right? And how much you learn from that. So you can be the mentor, you can receive the mentoring, right? Check in my notes here to see what else. The other reason grade level teams worked, a lot of the times, the good part about them was that you got to get clarity. And most teachers are verbal processors. That is what I have found. That's my own kind of like, observation. We're verbal processors. We need to talk it out, right? And so you need this team around you to talk it out. And as a new entrepreneur, you might not be able to hire the people for your team, right? But you don't have to. You can find a friend to be part of your team, right? I'll bet that any one of us here would love to be a part of your team, right? If only temporarily. Like that's what teachers do for each other. So find another teacher to be part of your team, right? You can barter. For a while, when I was first starting my coaching business, I offered coaching to somebody who did my graphics for me. We bartered. We were a team, right? We were on an equal playing field, but we were able to talk things through. We were able to barter, and it was free, right? Like I needed clients, I needed practice. She needed clients too. Like we helped each other. So share resources like you used to on grade level teams. Delegate tasks like you used to on grade level teams. Take the best part of working as a team and create that for yourself. Ditch the people who don't show up. Love on the people who are there, right? You don't have to keep the same team all school year. You can switch it up, right? Something's not working. All right, I'm going to go over here. But now I have this amazing team around me, and it's a mix of people who I pay, people who I barter with, people who are friends, people who I mentor, people who mentor me, right? It's an amazing team of people, and I got to choose who they were, right? It wasn't this random first day of school. Here's your new team. Go create, a plan, right? So grade level teams. Put together a team for yourself and call it your grade level team if you want. All right, number 3, this was the one you're going to groan. Number 3 is lesson planning. Lesson planning. Who loves lesson planning? Anybody? Nope. Nobody loves lesson planning. None of us love lesson planning, right? So think about what you loved a lot about lesson planning, if you did love anything, and what you hated about it, right? Think about the things you hated about it. I know for me, lesson planning, there was one position I had, I was there for about 2 years. Not only did we have to write out our lesson plans, but we had to also include the standards, the state standards in that lesson plan, and submit this to the principal every single week. So for 2 years, I did that. And it was tedious. It was overkill. I felt like the administrators didn't trust us as teachers to make decisions, right? And if I was like, oh, we didn't get to that last week, I need to repeat it, I was always asked why, right? Like nobody ever said, oh, you're so smart for reflecting on that and then, deciding to teach it in a different way. They were like, why aren't you moving forward? Why didn't you get that done, right? Like I hated that part of lesson planning. I hate SMART goals. Really, really hate SMART goals. I love to set goals and help people work towards their goals, and I hate SMART goals. And I know the reason I hate SMART goals is because every single IEP I have written, which is thousands, had to have SMART goals, right? That is how we wrote them. I could get up on a soapbox about that, and I won't. So think about what your classroom was like on Monday morning if you didn't have lesson plans, right? That feeling of like not being prepared, of not really knowing where you left off, what page you were on. We can all do that. That is something we're all really good at, right? We can step into a situation and wing it. We are really good at that, but it's not really a pleasant feeling. Think about how good you are with 15 minutes pulling together a lesson plan, right? Not the kind where you're writing out the standards and writing out the details and writing SMART goals, but like, oh, here I am Monday morning. I didn't get to my lesson plans over the weekend. So I need to do this, this, and this. Here's the most important things. Here's who's in front of me right now. I know what they need, right? In 15 minutes, you can do that. You can all do that. There's no doubt, right? That you can bring to your entrepreneurial role. You can leave behind the lesson plans that require all the detail or need to be turned into someone, and take the part that you're good at. You are good at outlining things. You're really good at outlining things. You are good at breaking things down, right? And taking like, here is the math lesson. We need to talk about multiplication, and here's where I'm going to start today, right? You're good at that. And it probably, even if you're not a math person, and I'm not a math person, right? I could still do it for math, but I could carry that skill over to other things too, right? Don't avoid planning altogether because you think it has to be this detailed SMART goal kind of thing. Take 15 minutes and pull it together real fast, because that 15 minutes will save you time in the long run. I think a lot of times with lesson planning, we're like, oh, it's all or nothing. Either I sit down and write the complete business plan for the whole school year, right? Or I do nothing and I just wing, right? Yes, we're good at winging it, but we can find a medium space there, a middle ground, right? We can sit down. We all have 15 minutes to sit down at the beginning of the week and be like, all right, where was I at before, right? We're good at reflecting. Where was I at before? What did my clients, where did they leave off, right? We're good at that. And where do I need to go this week? What part of this overall vision can I work on this week? We're good at that. So lesson planning. Yes, a lot of it was really awful, but take the pieces that work for you and use them. So bell schedules, grade level teams, lesson plans. Use what you're good at, which is a lot, and create what works for you, right? Ditch the stuff that didn't work for you, but use the stuff that did, and create a plan, because you will save so much time. You will take intentional steps towards your goals, right? And you will just have more, use your time more effectively moving forward with using the skills from teaching that you were really good at. So what's coming up for you? What thoughts do you have? What questions can I answer?
Well, I don't have a question, but I do want to say, I think, I guess I just appreciate your reminders. You said probably like, and you're good at that like 20 times. And I mean that in a compliment where I'm like, I am
Yeah.
good at that. Like, I think, I tell myself the negative sides, like you didn't have training to be a business owner. You're not a marketer like that. And it's like, okay, no, I'm not. But then, focusing on what I know that I'm good at, and like you're
Yeah.
kind of essentially what you're saying with this topic, it's not literally a lesson plan. It's not literally a bell schedule, but how applicable those skills that we all have are. I need to remember that more than telling myself I'm not a marketer. So
Yes.
just thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's exactly it, right? Like, I'm not a marketer either. I didn't go to business school. I didn't, but I do know what my overall vision of my marketing plan is. I do know how to break that down. I do know how to use 15 minutes at the beginning of each week and figure out the piece I'm going to focus on this week, right? I didn't bring this up, but also as a teacher, you can create a year-long vision. Like, you're really good at that too, right? So I know my vision of marketing, right? I also know who I can reach out to create that team of support for marketing, right? Take any topic like that in your business and stick in the pieces that you do know how to do, because you're really good at them, because you were a teacher. Right? Teachers are really good at a lot of things, and we don't give ourselves enough credit. We're focused on the negative stuff. Love that. Thanks, Tonica. Other questions, takeaways, thoughts?
I was going to say very similar to what you just said, Tanika, that when Sarah presented, one of the things she said last week was after leaving teaching, she felt like she needed to like light a match and throw it and, remove the teacher world. And that resonated with me. I really feel like I had to do that in order to be able to leave, right? I had to get so angry at teaching to be able to walk away from it. And so hearing that, like, actually this is applicable and here's how you get in is so helpful for me to, I don't know, it's healing to be able to embrace what I did used to be good at and what I do know how to do and get back into my life and reclaim it. So
yeah. I think, for everybody who has left teaching, they left for good reasons, right? I mean, they left because things were negative. They left because things were bad. Generally, there's probably a small percentage who left for other reasons, but I think for the most part, we all left. We left things behind on purpose, but you don't have to leave it all behind. Right? You can take the parts that you're really good at. It took me, so I've been coaching 6 years. It took me a very long time to get a reframe on SMART goals and decide, all right, I don't like SMART goals because it brings back bad memories. But like, I see how it's useful now, and I see how I can spin it in a way that works better for me. Yeah, we can use what we were good at. We can use what we learned, So teachers are amazing at many, many things.
Same. I would say similar to what the ladies have said, Tamika and Lizzie, of just I've had so many people say to me, like, how do you like whip this stuff up? How do you create this stuff? And I'm just like, how do you not?
Right.
How do you not just like whip it up? Like that's what we do. We whip stuff up. Because
Yep.
but you don't realize it. And then the other piece of that, building off of it, is, and I still battle with this. And I've been, in my business for, I don't even like 3, or I don't even know, maybe 4 years. I don't know. I can't even remember. But is how gaslit I was for so many years. And that SMART goal comment that you made, Barb, is a perfect example. SMART goals were used to catch you as opposed to celebrate you
Yes.
and grow with you, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what the point of them is. The point of
Mhm.
SMART goals is reflection and growth process. And I don't know one group of people more into growth mindset than teachers.
Yeah.
Yet I worked at several schools over the course of 23 years and never had an administrator that I felt supported by.
100%
Like truly, there was
agree.
always an alternative, like, and you never knew, like
Yeah.
I used to tell people, I feel like I'm walking next to somebody talking and they turn and punch me in the side of the head and I didn't even see it coming. It's just like, I had no idea that was coming, or I would have like ducked, right? Like you just don't know.
Mhm.
So taking that, that's a challenge for me, is taking the gaslight mentality that I always have to have my dukes up, or have like be prepared for like an administration change, and then who knows what happens, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
building changes.
Yes.
Now we're
Yeah.
not using SMART goals, we're using something else.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
stupid. So, that's a challenge, is figuring, it's just that constant reminder, which I think speaks, Barb, to your, the need for community. I have not yet found a community, or like feel like I have support. It like occasional once here or there or whatever, but that's a hard piece for me. And you know what? Maybe it's because, Lizzie, you might resonate with this. I didn't have grade level teams. I had department teams, but within a building, it was like the choir teacher, which wasn't exactly what I was doing, and the theater and the art teacher, which wasn't exactly what I was doing. So we kind of talked and tried to support each other, but it wasn't really helpful. I mean, it was more like friendships than anything else. But so I had to learn to do it on my own. It was always on my own. And it's just tiring.
Yeah.
Mm.
That is such a, I am so glad I'm glad you brought that up, because I have been on both sides of that. I've been in positions where it was a grade level team and we were all doing the same thing. And I've been in positions where I dipped in, like I had years where, as a resource room teacher, I was supporting 3 or 4 grade levels at once. So I dipped into this team, but I really had to do it all on my own, right? It was different. And yeah, that's such a great point, right? Like we still gotta figure out how to be part of a team. And if you're used to doing it all, you are taking that idea into your business now, that, oh, I gotta do it all, which doesn't need to be true if you don't want it to be, right? There's ways to embrace that idea of, oh, people can help me, right? Like I can barter, I can share resources. The people are out there. They're waiting for you.
Bob, how have you grown your clientele?
Great question. I think it goes back to the marketing piece, right? I know how to market myself. And as a teacher, I struggle with marketing because a lot of the business ideas feel really icky to me. I don't like to be the icky salesperson, who's like, this is what I do, and you should come join me, and I'm going to tell you all the reasons why and pull you in. Like, that's not me. So I have grown my clientele mostly by teaching, And it's showing up to conversations where I can teach a quick skill, right? Like 10-minute, like, here, try this. Let me teach you how to do that. It's showing up and teaching to a group. It's teaching in my emails, on my social media posts, on my blog, right? Like, through writing. I have a book, right? All of that, it's teaching. I have grown my clientele by teaching, even though in the midst of it, I wouldn't have called it teaching. You know, I was just sharing a message, but it was all teaching. And I have found that the more I share, it doesn't matter how many people are in front of me, right? The more I share, the better I become at sharing whatever the message is. And the more people show up, and more clients show up, the more referral partners show up, the more, you know, the people that I want to have in my world show up. So it was a long-winded way of saying, yeah, teaching has helped me with that too. Yeah.
I'm curious, Barb, with the bell schedule and bringing that into a work setting, do you actually set auditory reminders for yourself? Do you schedule, like, what does that actually look like for you in a work day?
That is such a great question. I set auditory reminders, so I set alarms for myself probably only 10 or 20% of the time, because I personally don't need them, right? I can watch the clock. I don't know if this is a teacher thing, but I kind of have a sixth sense of time, so I kind of know when time's up. In fact, I did a whole presentation last week that I had 50 minutes, and I had my analog clock in front of me so I could watch, right? Watch.
You have to become an expert
Yes.
at that when the class gets out at 11:37.
Yes.
Otherwise,
yes,
where does that come from?
Yeah. Well, I did this whole presentation only to realize after the fact that my clock, the battery was dead. It was not moving, but I finished exactly on time. I mean, I think we're good at that, right? I know I am, right? I'm good at knowing, like, right? If you have 42.5 minutes for 8 years to get through a lesson, you kind of instinctively know how long that takes. But I do set auditory reminders, and one of the things I do for time blocking is I will set a 30-minute block of time. Like, I'll set an alarm, 30 minutes, and I'll work on something that is that I know I'm not going to finish, right? Like, I don't even have the intention of finishing. I'm just going to work on this for 30 minutes, and when the alarm goes off, I'm going to move on to something else. To me, I have found that's a lot better than saying I have to finish this task in this amount of time, because if I am not sure if I can finish it in a certain amount of time, I struggle to start. And so I'm like, all right, but I know I can make progress, right? This isn't a businessy task, but one of my goals for this year was just to read more books, And I set a timer for myself, 10 minutes every day, 10 minutes. You wouldn't think you'd get through many books 10 minutes at a time. And I don't even do it every day. It's more like 4 times a week. I have gotten through last year, I got through 10 books. I have gotten through 11, and it's June. 10 minutes at a time, right? Because I wouldn't start a book. I'm like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to finish the chapter. So I'm not going to start. And here I am with a timer, like 10 minutes. Here's my block, 10 minutes at a time. I am getting through double the amount of books, right? And I do that with other things, like a lot of writing tasks. I won't start writing if I think I have to finish. So I will set a timer for that.
Barb, can I add to that?
Yeah, please.
I love that. And I think this speaks to you're good at that. Like, you already know how to do this, right? Like, and you know how to return where you ended.
Yes.
kids
Yep.
got up and walked out, right? And
Yep.
you're like, and we got to come back to this, right?
Yep.
Like you
Yep.
know how to do that, and you know how to kind of
Yeah.
like jump back in.
Mhm.
I knit, and there's this concept like with knitting, like people get all agitated. I do as well about like getting through a project, but there's this idea of 10 rows a day, like knitting 10 rows a day. And I've started to do that, and I put little markers, and like it shows like, and 10 rows, depending on the project, but like a sock is like super small, right?
Yeah.
In 10, it's the same kind of thing. In 10 rows a day, you can finish a project. Is it finishing a project in 2 days? No. However, if you, again, it's sort of like the bell. It's like 10
Yeah.
rows, put it down, come back to it. You
Yeah.
know you're coming back to it tomorrow. Those kids are coming back in that classroom.
Yeah.
Unless there's a snow day. But so I think it's the value of what you can do, what your brain already has been trained to do. And instead of like when we go to an entrepreneur or a business mindset, all the people around us can't do that. They
They
can't do
can't.
it. They've
I
not
agree.
been trained to do it.
Yeah.
We've been trained to come back to those same kids at the same place, if not a little bit before, so that we like give them a runway again.
Mhm.
And that's the gaslighting thing. Like give yourself permission to be like, other people
Yeah.
can't do this. I can do
Right.
this.
Yeah.
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 I like that.
Such
Thank
a
you.
great
Sorry,
example. Yeah.
you made me think like connect like 4 dots there.
Awesome. Awesome. The power of discussion, right? I love it. Love it.
On that note, I normally cut off before the Q&A after the presentation, before I post on YouTube. This has been great. If you guys don't mind, I would really love to keep this Q&A in the video. Does anyone have a problem with that? Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, well, thank you for all your extra insights and